Alrighty, folks. Let's see. Why is my camera not set up properly? So welcome, everybody. See a bunch of people in here. Let me see what is happening. My camera is not functioning properly. Sorry about this, folks. Give me 1 second to adjust. But in the meantime, welcome. Can you let me know where you are based in the world? Where are you coming from? And as I get this little tech snafu reset up here, there we go. Hey, folks, backup camera over here. We'll get back to the main one in a second. But where in the world are you? I'm in Denver right now, but I'm actually in the middle of a move to San Diego. So Colorado to California. Where are you at? And then also, is this your first time coming here, or are you a repeat visitor? I'm curious, and I would love to know that. There we go. Okay, so let's see here in chat. We've got people from New York, Potsdam, Portland, Maine. Very cool. Toronto, very nice. Brad, yeah, I was wiped out with COVID again, and it was not the best experience. I'll put it that way. Welcome back, Pete. Welcome back, Ian. Very cool. So a bunch of repeat folks. Hopefully, some new folks join as well. And we're going to get into it in a second. Today's going to be a very quick class, and it's going to be one where we kind of jump into workshop format as much as possible. I really want to go through examples with people live here. We're going to be talking about competitor research and specifically building battle cards. So this is something that's very, very practical, hopefully that you can take and run with and then see some success with your respective companies. But I'd also like to do this live with as many people as possible. So usually what we do here, if this is your first time, we spend about 20 to 30 minutes running through a presentation, and then we go through a Q&A that could also last 20 to 30 minutes depending on how active it is. Today, I'd like to shorten the presentation a little bit to about 15 minutes and then jump straight into the Q&A where we actually walk through real examples using your specific companies, your competitors, so that you walk away from this presentation hopefully with as much value as possible and some ideas of how you can go even deeper, which I'm teasing this, but I'll get into it in a sec. So with that said, a little bit of housekeeping as we get started here. At the end of this class, there's going to be a little survey. If you're a repeat visitor, you know these are very important to us. I will share the link to the survey at the end, and please give us feedback. I want to know how you thought this topic went, what other topics you'd like to hear. Kyle reviews everything, and this is one of the most important things really as part of this process as we've grown these live classes is to get good feedback from you. So good, honest feedback. If you didn't like the topic, that's fine. If you liked it, great, but let us know, and please stay to actually fill out that survey, which I'll post right before the Q&A. So with that said, if you have comments, if you have questions, please drop them in chat. I will be periodically looking this way and seeing them so I can see what everybody's doing. And then I will get to your questions. I'll cover all the questions in the Q&A. So definitely don't hold back and don't worry, I have not skipped you. I will come to the question at the end. So with that said, you guys ready to get started? This should be a fun one. So let's go into our little presentation mode here. And let me trick myself a little bit. And let me get this screen shared with you all. Okay. So again, if you've been here before, this particular class is brought to you by Voris, which is Kyle's company, and Stick and Grow, my company. And this topic, we called it Steal Their Thunder, really how to do competitor research with AI. And it's taken what I used to do 20 years ago as a fresh-faced, young, ambitious person, and then it's mind-blowing how much easier, faster, and better you can do what I used to do. Really, it's incredible. It would have. I'm jealous of people who are 20 starting off in this type of atmosphere. We'll get into that in 1 second. If we have not met yet, though, my name's Dan. Nice to meet you. I've been a copywriter for it's longer than 18 years now. I have to update that at some point. Yuck. But I've worked with all kinds of companies, from very, very big to very, very small, and in all sorts of verticals. And at one point, I was selling beer out of a monastery, for example. I've got some more stories if you'd like to hear them. And I've worked all over the world. It's been an interesting career so far. I used to be the head copy coach over at copywritingcourse.com, and then I used to work at Voris, where I was the CMO for about 3 years. And what I currently do is I help B2B founders build LinkedIn funnels at Stick and Grow, where a lot of the content we generate, a lot of the strategy we generate is basically done with AI, with a human editor on top of the system, namely me. And if you'd like to connect, find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's what I look like on LinkedIn. Again, you can always grab this link. It's linkedin.com/in/Dan McDermott if you have any future questions on any of these topics. Okay, so let's keep going here. I want to talk about why your competitors matter. A lot of this is going to be a little bit obvious, but when you look at in practice, do people actually act on this? And the answer is usually no. So these are the big questions that tend to hold us back. What should my pricing be? What content should we create? How can we convert visitors to subscribers and into buyers? What does our audience care about? How do they buy? What's the customer journey? These types of questions kind of cycle around marketing and sales teams endlessly, usually, and it feels like there's no good answer. But the truth is, they're already mostly answered by looking at what your competition is doing. Most of us here have some larger incumbent in the B2B SaaS space where we work for a company where there's some behemoth in our industry. And they've done a lot of legwork already to sort of give you what a basic customer journey for somebody buying this type of product looks like. They gave us a basic reference point, an anchor point for pricing. They give us even a little bit of a content strategy because, for example, if I was in the CRM space, guess what? HubSpot has given me a content strategy. It's just up to me to sort of figure out where can I beat them? How can I beat them? Where is the weak spots? Where are the strong spots? And I want to point out that B2B buyers especially, but all buyers really, but especially B2B buyers shop around. So I want you to think about who else folks are looking at. At the end of this call, I'm going to ask you for a URL of your company and then a URL of one of your main competitors. So think about your buyers. Who else are they considering? Who's in your space? And then when you focus in on one competitor, where do you win? Where do they win? What are your competitors great at? What are you maybe not so great at? So we're building, again, into a battle card, really. That's the name of the game in this particular call, which we'll get to in a second. But these questions of relative value, relative strengths, relative weaknesses, that's what frames so many marketing conversations and so many sales conversations. We are rarely speaking in a vacuum where we are the only entity in the whole world that exists to solve this problem that the customers come to us with. So it's very important to get into their heads a little bit and to think, okay, well, because of the situation that they're in, because of the people that they're looking at, maybe this is the time for me to say XYZ. So I want to show you a process to build battle cards quickly and build them with basically in depth. And then here's the real trick that I'm getting ahead of myself with a little bit here, but battle cards that aren't just detailed and good, but also ones that you can talk to. So here's a couple of screenshots I'll explain in a second. But really, the best sales and marketing teams, they know their competition so well. They know them inside out. And that's because they track pricing, they track content, they know their talking points relative to specific competitors, relative to maybe DIY solutions, relative to situational selling and marketing. They're following the latest developments in the industry. Maybe they even have some Google alerts for their competitors' names. This is what people basically are looking for when they are on top of the game. They're following they're signed up. If you're in a marketing team, for example, and you're not following your competitors' emails, I think you're missing a trick. If you're not following them on social, it's kind of a big miss. So a lot of this together, when you look at it, comes down. I'll explain the WDWW in a sec, but it's usually a very big manual effort to do this. And that's really what the WDWW is. It stands for who's doing what, where, and why. I guess there's a third W there. This is the spreadsheet that I used to use when I was the sole analyst at a clean tech firm that was doing some really big things in the solar, wind, and geothermal space. And what they had me doing was tracking every single project across the US in one spreadsheet that was over a certain megawatt level. And I had to call them up and sort of figure out, pretend to be a journalist sometimes and do all sorts of things, maybe a little bit shady if I think back on it properly, but basically track as much detail as how are the deals structured? Who are the main decision makers in the city? How did they get in touch? There's so much detail and depth, and this is my whole job. And really at the end of the day, that was good training material for me, but it was very inefficient. And it was just something that, if there was a better way, cough, nudge, nudge, there is, then, we should be leveraging the same, maybe the same direction, the same energy, but with more efficiency and more strategy, which we'll use AI for. So instead of doing it manually, this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to consider building battle cards that you can actually speak to. So these questions we talked about before, who else are they looking at? Where do you win? Where do they win? What are your competitors great at, right? These are questions that you should be able to answer in a battle card, but also be able to talk to it in chat. These are the ultimate context setters. So if we just talk about AI for a second and ChatGPT and whatnot, the really good conversations happen when you are able to give very good prompts and you're able to set very good context for the window that you're speaking into. I don't want to get technical with ChatGPT right now, but basically a battle card is the most efficient way that you can present information to an AI, and vice versa. If you create it with AI, it's also one of the most efficient ways you can present information to new employees, new team members, to people who are situationally selling and need a quick and speedy way to react to certain situations. They're very, very good context both for humans and for the AI that you're speaking to. So with that said, I'm ready to jump in and build some stuff out here. And again, let me just preface this real quick. We want to use it for training. We want to use it to support your sales reps, and then also for strategy and for some of the deeper sort of conversation material. So with that stuff, let's go into actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to the agent systems in a second. I want to show you guys an example first, and then I'm going to come into the agents. So here is our prompt, which I'll share with everybody shortly. But basically, you'll see that it's a pretty, actually, this is the example here. This is a pretty good prompt. It's well organized. It's got a lot of context. It explains who the chat is supposed to act as, what it's supposed to create, and then it leaves us some space for input. So in this particular one, I used the example of HoneyBook and PandaDoc as the two competitors. So in this prompt, you can put in your URL, and then you can put in a competitor's URL, and it will basically split everything up and look at what basically what we should do. So let's go down to the bottom and look at the output. So first of all, if you're familiar with PandaDoc, it's one of those, it's like DocuSign, but on steroids. It's got all these features, and it's meant for companies to sort of trade contracts. That's what I use it for anyways. It's a little bit expensive. And I think and HoneyBook is sort of a product that's out there that I get bombarded with ads for, and I've never used, but I'm on the edge of trying out. So this is a little bit selfish for my own purposes here. I'm going to look at, well, A versus B. So I'm pretending to be HoneyBook here, and I want to have a really quick look at who are we selling against. So it summarizes PandaDoc very, very easily. And by the way, this looks at G2 reviews and PandaDoc's website. PandaDoc is a document workflow and e-signature platform aimed at revenue teams that need to create, send, track, and e-sign proposals, quotes, and contracts at scale. It counts 50K customers, 750,000 plus, 750 plus templates, and deep CRM integrations, right? To accelerate deal cycles and SMB to enterprise sales orgs. Now, in a table format, I want to basically be able to look at this very, very easily and think, where do we win? Where do they win? So ease of use. It looks like HoneyBook is rated a little bit better. On an ICP, clearly HoneyBook is aimed at smaller people, smaller companies, whereas PandaDoc is aimed at much bigger ones. Pricing is similar. It looks like basically a flat fee that falls in the middle of PandaDoc's range. Speed to value looks about equal. Customization looks like there's a little bit of difference there. And then integration, very similar. And then support and service, also very similar. So two similar companies with different ICPs. And then really, it's the ease of use that looks different. So let's keep going here. It's going to give us some proof points to talk through, right? To remember, and this is 100K businesses trust HoneyBook, right? 93% of members would recommend HoneyBook. That's a pretty good stat. And then the G2 scores are here. And then here's the core talk tracks. This is where I think it's very valuable to think about from not only a sales conversation when you're live in the middle of a conversation, but when you're sitting down to draft emails. If I was to sit down and draft emails for HoneyBook versus PandaDoc, if I was selling directly in a campaign like that, and I was trying to steal some customers, what I might do is look at exactly this, the all-in-one versus this sort of Frankenstein system. Paying per business, not per seat. I think the smaller you go as a business, the more important this becomes. And then the fact that it's specifically built for independence. Again, I'm the type of customer that will probably move away from PandaDoc because there's just too much stuff that doesn't really make sense for too much money. But HoneyBook seems like it's good for me. And then here's some objections and responses. So PandaDoc has a deeper CPQ. And then it acts as Honeybook here to say, well, okay, true, but here's a response. They integrate with Salesforce. Okay, but we, as you're not on enterprise CRMs, the QuickBooks and Zapier stack connects faster with less admin lifts. That's very helpful. And then their starter plan is cheaper. But when you look at it, it's really not, which is the case often with many SaaS companies. So this is really good. And I think that looking at total cost really is kind of the angle that I might draft an email series around. Landmine questions are questions that we use to sort of frame a conversation and lead the conversation the way that we want. So these are the directions that you can push clients towards, prospects towards as you're speaking. And then landmines to avoid, it guides you here again, so maybe some territory not to go into. And the rest of this here is basically just the last two sections are taglines for messaging. Again, these are good potentially to think about website copy, maybe to think about in some emails, some slick social posts, something like that. And then a little close with confidence reminder of how to really frame things and tie the loop back together. So the reason that I bring this up as an example that I want to show you first is just this by itself is going to be helpful for a new team member to understand very quickly relative to the big player in the space, how we should act. Relative to the big player in the space, where should I lean into? What kind of conversations can I expect? When I have this in front of me as a new team member, I would absolutely be able to ask more intelligent questions. I might be able to direct my own research a little bit. And I think overall, Battlecards keep coming up for me as this really, really valuable tool that really operate for both sales and marketers slightly differently, of course, but there are things that most companies have a sort of a crappy template around. And I'd like you to think about going a little bit deeper. So this version by itself is a solid version. And I will show the prompt that produces this with you. But if you're doing this in chat, I want to encourage you to do one more thing. So far, I like this battle card. I was happy with it. If I wanted to have edits or re-guide it, I might go back and say, no, I want you to redo this. But for the most part, I liked it. So I said, okay, this is accurate. Now, what is one content angle that I can use to outperform PandaDoc? Remember, I'm pretending to be Honeybook. For example, this might involve better lead magnets, smarter social strategy, or something else entirely. Give me 10 creative out-of-the-box ideas that will allow us to beat PandaDoc in specific, tangible ways. And this, my friends, is where it really shines. This is where you're able to come up with really good ideas where you can kind of go back and forth and collaborate a little bit with the AI to produce really, really good stuff. Let me zoom in a little bit here because I think this is important and I would love to. So hopefully you can see this okay. It suggests a calculator. It suggests a 7-day proposal, makeover sprint, which I think these types of very focused email courses essentially are very, very powerful. I like this a lot. This is something, number one, building a calculator is a little bit of a pain in the neck for me because I'm not very technical, but the email system, easy win. And see if I can just kind of produce this here. Okay, yeah, so let me see, the client flow scorecard quiz. Again, this might be good, but building the quiz might be a little bit technical for me. The TikTok series might be very good. And this is where, again, something stands out to me. This is why I like generating ideas en masse once it has very good context in hand. Now, it points out that PandaDoc is nearly absent on most social media, but especially on TikTok and Instagram. So if you're able to come up with good content, you're already maybe creating content for LinkedIn, maybe you can repurpose these things into 30-second reels that are very, very direct and crunchy about how to create good invoices, or how to send out emails inviting people to sign. Little things like that. If PandaDoc is not doing them at all, that represents an easy win for a company like Honeybook to come in and immediately do and score a big win on a marketing front and possibly also on a sales front. So that one stands out in a big way. Very easy lift, very low lift, and very, very quick to turn this around and see results with. A proposal template marketplace collab. So again, could we find partners? Could we build a vault that PandaDoc doesn't have because they don't? And then a couple other ideas here. So basically, the main point I'm trying to make here is that these are pretty much across the board very good ideas. Are they all executable for me by myself? No. But if I had a team with me and I was really doing something, around maybe calculators or more technical things on the website, we could rack up the wins in the space of a week. Yeah, you could have so much good stuff come out of this. Not just blog posts, not just LinkedIn posts, not just, it's really across the board. So that's how I think about this stuff. And we can go deeper and deeper and continue to talk to it. And we might even say this, like, why not? You generated all these look pretty good. what are your top 3 favorites? Explain your reasoning. And one thing I want to note is I'm using O3 for this, which is the most advanced model of ChatGPT. It's very good for reasoning and for, it's a little bit slower on the writing. It recommends 4.5 and 4.0 for the writing, but I kind of like O3 for its thinking. It's very, very powerful. So it's C text calculator, 7-day proposal sprint, and then proposal makeover sprint, and then a per project ROI badge. I think that's a really good idea too. This is something that one of my developer friends would easily build up, I think, very, very nicely. So again, all 3 of these are very doable, really. And if nothing else, the writer on the team, hey, I could do number 2 really in a day. So this is the kind of big wins that I want to surface by creating these battle cards that you can think through, talk to, and interact with a little bit. So that's the example I wanted to run through that I've just done here solo. But I want to also point out how things work a little bit. So if you came to my last session, which was a couple of weeks ago, I talked about buyer personas. And I want to point out that I think that buyer personas, if you build them the right way, and battle cards can interact very, very well. And I'm sure if you followed AI at all, you've seen these very complicated flowcharts with these crazy, arrows everywhere and boxes everywhere, and a bunch of, I don't know what else to call them, but AI agent bros being like, oh, wow, this is the most amazing thing. Look at my 36 bot system. And I don't think we need that. Okay, so I don't think if you feel overwhelmed, you should not, because we should be building simple systems that create high value outputs automatically and that interact well with each other. So real quick here, and then we'll move to the Q&A. The buyer persona session that I covered, which I'll also share the prompts for those, we basically created these outputs. We created the buyer persona, but then we also created a role player, an objections generator, something to test messaging, and then a 30,000-foot strategy based on the buyer persona. For competitor research, what we went through today, and the prompt I'm sharing with you, is to create the battle cards, but it can also surface the content gaps. It can also create a character that will, I can show you how to do that if you have questions in the Q&A, but that can be very critical and push back on things. And then a spy tracker, which basically follows the other company around and says, okay, well, here's a report every Monday, letting you know that their pricing has changed, letting you know that they published 2 blog posts last week, letting you know, and as a marketer, this is gold. This is the kind of stuff that if automatically you can get a report that you can cover in 2 to 5 minutes every week, I mean, that's pretty good. So there's ways to build all this stuff. Now, with that said, we keep going here. And let me share the prompts with you all, and then I want to share the actual link to the survey and get into the Q&A. So here's the prompts. The actual the competitor battle card is in the table. It's the last row of the table here, and you should get this over here. And you'll see that basically you have buyer persona stuff on the top. And then I might have to reorganize this a little bit, but basically this is what we just covered today. So the competitor battle card prompt. You just open that up and you'll have the prompt ready to go. So with that said, I'd like to see if you would like to actually walk through some examples live together. I want to get into that really as quickly as possible. So but before we do, here's the form that I mentioned. Please, please, please fill this out. I cannot stress how important this is I can't stress enough how important this is to get back from you. So please fill that out. Take a second, and then please also drop in your actual URL so that I can grab that, and then we can walk through you versus a competitor and go through a couple of examples. And I just see a couple of comments come through here. Lydia, yes, absolutely. We can share that, and then cool. Lauren, I see Lexi Consulting come up. So let's jump into this here. And let me get into the Q&A. Oh, and then here, by the way, in case you don't know this yet, Voris.com/events is where you can sign up for all future events with Voris, including these live classes. So with the Q&A, I want to go through this, and let me do this now. I have a couple of people in chat, and then we'll get to the actual examples. If you've attended any of these, you know that through 2.5 years, almost 3 years of doing these, 2.5 years of doing these, Kyle and I only ever sold once for a workshop, for an AI workshop. And basically, I'm selling again. So if you'd like, I'm offering 2 60-minute calls for a company. And basically, if you're interested, no pressure, but you can grab a spot here. And what we'll do is we'll actually build out the systems. What I showed you here is a prompt that I can generally walk through with, generically walk through for any company. But on a workshop with me, we would build out something very specific for you and use a slightly different prompting style that kind of takes it on a sort of on steroids level. And then you would build something that you'd actually use. You get both the battle card that'll output a content calendar and email campaign suggestion, and then an outline, and then a buyer persona that you can actually speak to and role play and use to challenge your messaging and your strategy. I used this the other day live with a client, and an email campaign that I had prepped. I ran through the challenge, and it gave such a good. It was like, yeah, it works well here, but then the point that where you lost me was here, and it was spot on. And I had to go back and rejig it. So this is what we're doing. If you'd like to, feel free to grab a spot with me there. But let's get into the chat here. So Lauren, you are with lexiconsulting.com. So Lauren, what is one of your top competitors? And then as I wait for Lauren to add those, I'm going to go through a couple more that have the competitors on there. So Asim, you got amolino.ai. So let's go to this, amolino.ai. And then let's go to an Ebsta. Oh, Ebsta, okay. Go to ebsta.com and yep. Okay, so let's go to here. Let's go to the actual prompt. And let me create a new chat here. I'm going to pop the prompt in. I'm going to change this to 4.0 just to make it a little bit quicker. And let us go through. So we have and we have, whoops, www.amolino.ai, and then this one is Ebsta, and we have Ebsta's website here. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. And let us go ahead and generate this. Amolino.ai. Oh, did I put the wrong one in there? Ah, okay, I think that's correct. So let us see here. Ebsta versus Amolino. So Ebsta is the Rev Intelligent platform that integrates with Salesforce and HubSpot, et cetera, et cetera. They target mid-market to enterprise sales teams seeking to optimize their sales processes within their existing CRMs. So it looks like it looks at you as being a little bit easier to use. It looks like the ideal customer is a little more broad and gets away from Salesforce or HubSpot. Pricing is similar towards the lower end. Speed to value, tailored AI playbooks. Okay. And then it's funny, it added security and compliance. That's new. And then proof points. So you have a 60% increase in forecast accuracy. I think that's very strong. Especially if you can back it up somehow. That would be very, very good. Forecast accuracy. Yeah. So this is interesting. So you versus them. So it looks like it pulled a little bit of EBR into, Ebsta into those talking points. So that might be a bit of a bug. But so the talk tracks, again, this is the most valuable part, I think, of the battle card. Proactive deal guidance. So you don't just analyze data, you prescribe next steps to keep deals on track. I think that's very, very helpful, especially if you can show that in action. If you can show, in a little GIF of, the little guidance coming up and then you shifting your strategy a little bit to keep the deal on track. These are very, very good. It can also work great as a content strategy for you to just endlessly talk about this. Seamless multi-channel integration. So, okay, very good. It's not just limited to HubSpot and Salesforce, I guess. And then tailored playbooks. Again, these might be very, very good lead magnets for you. Share them for free, but ask for emails. You could get some really good stuff here. And if you want to send out cold emails, guess what? A lead magnet with a cold email would be great. Saying to somebody, hey, I know you're the CEO or whatever it is, at blank company. We have a custom playbook exactly for your type of persona or your type of vertical. Would you like me to send it to you? that would be a killer cold email for you here. A couple of objections, right? And then boop, boop, boop. Our team's used to it. No behavioral changes. This is great. Forecasting is sufficient, but we offer a 60% boost. Is that what Epson's getting you? Right? So we have some really good talking points that would be very, very strong in email and on the website and social, really. Landmine questions we can skip a little bit. I think those are kind of obvious, but they're helpful again, I think, for newer team members. And then some taglines. I think this is kind of fun. You think about ads, you're thinking about headlines. This is not bad to keep going with. And then the close with confidence is again really just to wrap it up. But I think this is really good. I'm happy with this here. And I think for Emilino, I would lean very hard into the playbooks and then into the data that you can probably prove. So hopefully that's helpful here, team. Let's keep going here. Lauren, I teased you there. I was going to do it, and then I didn't do it. So let's go back to yours over here, and let's see here. By the way, I see him. I like the homepage. Looks very good. Lexi Consulting. And let us go to Pop Lexi Consult. Actually, let me just do this here. And folks, if this is helpful, can you just let me know in chat? Because I know it's a little bit, I don't know. I find it a bit awkward to have to watch somebody going through ChatGPT, but I also think it's useful to see the process in action and that it's not sort of, it's not a crazy complex system to use. It's actually pretty easy, I would argue. So we are Lexi Consulting, and then our website is lexiconsulting.com, and then our competitor is McKinsey. Oh, okay. You want to go up against the big boys. So let's go to McKinsey, and we go to get rid of that. And let me go back to here. Competitor is McKinsey. And then the website is and then let's see what we get here. This should be an interesting one. Cool. Yeah, you got it, Sam. Thanks for participating here like this. This is so much better when we actually look at real companies and not just my own wacky examples because of what I'm looking at. Interesting with 4.0, it pulls out these images. Maybe on the next one we can try out 4.5 or 03. So okay, McKinsey, basically a huge consulting firm. This is a little bit more structured. Okay, immediately the thing that jumps out to you should be the colors. Pricing, you are going to be better than them because they're probably going to be more expensive. That is the nature of the game of McKinsey. But if that's wrong, let me know. Ease of use, you're agile and client-centric versus their structured methodologies. So you adapt a little bit to meet the client. I think that's very, very necessary to talk about. That's a very strong competitive point. Mid-market, large enterprise, so slightly different ICPs. Rapid deployment, and then time-intensive processes. So again, you have a winner. You basically have a lot of winners here. You're more customizable. You can integrate more. So all that stuff about you just being a little bit more agile really comes to bear in all these I guess lenses. And it says that basically this green dot says that it's well, it says parity, but it also I think it kind of means this is the standard. And then the check mark is you're beating it. So very good. Proof points. I guess there's a case study that it pulled from, which is great. We recognized for delivering customized solutions. Maybe we want some more there, and achieved a 25% reduction in cost for manufacturing client through streamlined processes. So this is a little bit weak to me. If you looked at the last one when we looked at Emilino or when we looked at Honeybook, the proof points were the data was a little bit more in your face. And what I'd suggest here, Lauren, is going back and looking for what kind of numbers can you really speak to? Can you elevate that even more? When you do a bunch of these, you start to see some relative areas of strength and weakness. I think you could probably improve these. And the reason this is limited is it's just pulling from the website. So you probably have stuff that's not published that could really massively improve this. So talk tracks, tailored solutions, again, because we're not just forcing you into our system. We build it around you. Agile implementation, right? That makes sense. And then cost-effective excellence. Again, this is speaking in ROI terms is a great way to speak about cost effectiveness. And the more you can show this versus a McKinsey, I mean, the more you're going to win kind of in every example. So, but McKinsey's global. They're the big name. Yeah, but we offer personalized attention and agility that these big firms don't really have. We need comprehensive industry expertise. Well, we actually have that. We actually have that even deeper, probably. And we're concerned about scalability of solutions. Well, we literally adapt to you as you grow. Others don't. They give you one thing and they expect you to fulfill into their framework. And then if you don't, game over. So I think these are strong points. Landmines and positioning, I'm going to avoid slightly here. But I mean, some of it's obvious, but I would really suggest that for a new salesperson, a new marketer, these are really important to have. So obviously, don't say this, but you should have this in writing somewhere. This really puts a lot of structure around what you create content wise and what you what you do. So let's go here. Yeah, these are okay. I think you could always take these and make them even better. But let's say here, because I always want to have one follow-up. So last time we asked about a content angle. Here, let's say, what's one element that we're not using enough of on our website? What's one competitive advantage that we have over McKinsey that we ought to turn into a dedicated landing page or other powerful asset? Again, I want you to think about getting outside of the box here, not always asking the same thing and say, okay, well, what email should I write? What blog post should I create? Instead, really try to come up and say, this is a okay, I was right. Hey, look at that. Proof of results. Metrics, basically. So if we have this peppered around the site, but also possibly on a dedicated page, I think that backing up your claims is so important, especially when you're up against big boys like McKinsey. So agility and speed to value. I think that's another one. You could have a visual around this, would be very, very great. You could have 6 to 12 months on a chart, and then you could say, that we actually get most of our work done in 90 days or whatever it is, if that's accurate. Again, strategy to action in 30 days, a fast start process. All this stuff is gold. I love this angle also. So, and then what I like is that with 4.0, it also says, hey, do you want me to wireframe this for you? It's game changing, guys. I really hope that you see the power of this kind of stuff. And it's really, really, really good material. Ian, I just saw your question. If you message me on LinkedIn, I'll share it with you. It's hard to get that quantity of text into the chat window. I can try, but I don't think it's going to work. Let me just go back to this one over here. So this is the kind of ways that I would be thinking of how to create this type of content. And let's try this. And obviously replace the word PandaDoc here, Ian. Okay. Yeah, it came through. So let's keep going with a couple of examples here, Lauren. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me see here. Shari left, unfortunately. Jason, let's check this out here. So estatespace.com. Let's check that out. Estatespace.com. Let me set up this in the meantime over here. Let's see here. Okay. And folks, if you want to do this with me, I am pushing it a little bit because I am absolutely in love with where this is going. This is really, really powerful for a bunch of reasons. So let's go to Estate Space. And then let's grab the private asset management. Interesting. Go back to here. Estate Space. And then let's go to your competitors. I'm going to grab one of them. I'm going to grab, you compete with Monday.com. Interesting. And Workday. Let's look at Workday. That might be very interesting, unless you have a preference, Jason, but let's go to Workday. So what I'm assuming is that basically you offer you're built for that niche, and most of the people in the niche currently use a bigger platform like Monday.com, like Workday. And if that's accurate, let me know. But let me just here, Workday. Let's go to this website. And then let us go ahead and hit enter and see what we come up with here. So I'm using O3 for this one, so it'll take a little bit longer, but it's interesting to see it sort of think through the problem. I need to compare these websites. I'm comparing this, this element of it. So just give it a minute. It should take about 30 seconds to actually produce something. So let us go, and hopefully this gives you a good idea of the different types of models that you can use and sort of play around with. So let us see here. Oh, so Jason, I just saw Nine's Living came through. Sorry about that. I missed your message, but let us go through this, and then by all means repeat this for yourself, and I think you'll get a good version of things. And remember, I did post in chat the link to the prompts, which are here, and I'm literally just using the last prompt on the table. And then as we're waiting for this to, okay, here, let's go. So who are we selling against? Workday. It is a cloud giant. So the table, so ease of use, good, but probably better for non-technical and family office teams. Who it's for, obviously slightly different usership with you just being more specific. Pricing, probably easier to understand, more transparent, right? 3-step onboarding. This one takes months. So yeah, you have a couple of big wins on pricing and speed to value, which makes sense. The two are linked often. And customization, you have templates, and then this one is highly configurable. The angle there is probably, hey, you don't have to build from scratch. We're giving you a template to speed you up. So there's a place where this is actually should be at the check mark, and this should be the neutral one. Integration, secure workspace, etc. Okay, yeah, probably a little bit different there, but white glove success, and then yeah. So really, what this comes down to is it looks like the focus on the niche, the pricing, and the speed to value to me. So proof points: 20% of admin time saved on asset management, transformative for non-financial AUM, and fit for purpose differentiation versus broader. So I think this could be improved as well. This is something, Jason, where you might want to sit down. And I know that I get that it's not the most direct comparison, but when proof points kind of hover around, they feel a bit weak in terms of numbers or in terms of one-liners. It's often a sign that you need better case studies, or you need a section on the site that really just breaks down logically, rationally, with some numbers. Why do we win? That's something I'd like you to think about. And then here's the talk tracks. Of course, we're built for you in this niche. Days to value, not quarters. Yeah, exactly. Speed to value and pricing. That niche, speed to value and pricing. So you probably know this, but these are the starting points that I would think about. Sales emails. These are the starting points I would, and not just against Workday, but maybe against the bigger incumbents in the space. Common objections. We already run Workday Finance. That's great, but we actually complement it. Is the state big enough for us? And it looks like it. And then they have broader features. Well, do you need broader features, and do you need that extra complexity, or do you actually want something to just get work done now? Right? Good angles. We're going to skip the landmines and keep going here. So that hopefully was helpful, Jason. Let's keep going and see if there's maybe one more that we can do here, and then we can call it a day. Let us see here. Lexi Consulting, Emelina. Oh, there we go. Emma, got a one right here. So let us go through this, and one more time, folks, let me just do this before we completely get out of here. I love your feedback on this forum. Super important for us. And one more time as well, if you'd like to talk directly here, this is a paid workshop, but it's one where I'm trialing something out. So it's $500, and if it is useful for you, we'll really kind of we can build out a year of content in a calendar, and the right email outline strategy, and then basically have everything ready to go. The outcome of this is transformative. So let us go back to here, and then let me go to your website over here. Let me set this up first and grab the prompt. And then let me go back to another chat. This one, let's change it up and let's do 4.5. Let's get to here, and then let us go through Emma's incident IQ. let's start there. Incident IQ.com, is it? And .com. And let us go to operations hero. Let's grab this, pop this in here, and let's get this IQ. And then our competitor here is going to be Operations Hero. And let's pop this into here, operationshero.com. That's correct, yes. Okay. Power your campus, interesting. Should have opened the site side by side so I could have looked at them. I like your design a little bit better. So anyway, let's go back. We can not get sidetracked here, Dan. And let's go to Operations Hero and let us see what 4.5 comes out with. And this is where, if I could offer like a suggestion here, if you build out multiple personas, if you build out multiple battle cards, if you have a bunch of these sort of saved in one place in Notion, you can always grab these and have two of them talk to each other. That's the other really cool idea here, is that you don't just have to be the one talking back and forth. You can have them role play with each other. So let's keep going here. Operations Hero is a facilities and operations management platform tailored for educational institutions. It offers solutions like work order management, inventory tracking, event scheduling, etc. And the platform emphasizes mobile accessibility and aims to streamline routine tasks for school operations teams. Very cool. So, looks like pretty similar. It says this is a little more intuitive, but I'm not sure if that's a real needle mover. K through 12 departments, looks very similar here. Tiered pricing. So it looks like more transparency on your side. Speed to the value, both look pretty quick. Both look pretty customizable. Both look pretty robust integrations-wise, but maybe you have an edge. And then support and service. Yeah, I mean, maybe they have the edge a little bit. Let's keep going here. So proof points. 30% reduction in IT ticket resolution time. You get a Gartner recognition. Then time to value under 30 days. So anytime I see a time to value thing like this, I imagine a visual, because if you build a good one for the website, you can reuse it in your email, you can reuse it in your social, and you can show how quick that basically people will see results from what you're doing. Then the core talk tracks, my favorite part. Integrated IT and asset management. So we combine help desk, asset tracking, and ticketing into one platform, eliminating the need for multiple systems. Very, very good. Designed for education. So again, we're built for your niche, and we're scalable and configurable. Whether you're a single school or a large district. So these don't really speak to me completely against Operations Hero. Maybe Operations Hero is a little bit more broad, but I think I would want to dive into this a little bit more, and I'll show you in my response here what I do. And Operations Hero is more focused on facilities. I don't know the difference between facilities and non-facilities, but let's say that we already use Operations Hero for events. Okay, but we also work. Operations Hero is more cost-effective, and then Incident IQ's comprehensive features reduce the need for multiple tools, offering better ROI. So overall, better ROI. Very good visual also here that you could promote. So let's go to here. Because you have a competitor here who looks very, very similar and does not have things that are necessarily screaming at me that is an easy win for you in emails or in some of your messaging like I did with the other companies. Let's do this as a response here. Let's say, okay, this is accurate, but there's a lot of overlap between companies and the value respective value they offer. I want you to revisit the talk tracks section and come up with more powerful, compelling arguments to support IQ over, what is it, Operations Hero. And let's see if that is enough context for it. If I was really going carefully, I would have copy pasted the talk tracks in and said, one by one, what I didn't like. Okay, so here, why we win. So unified visibility across IT and facilities. So this is better. So we're bridging a specific gap. I think that's very important. You probably know this already, Emma, but I think that's one that immediately stands out to me is, okay, you can literally visually show this and you can probably speak to it in a cold email. Education specific workflows. Okay, so that clears that up. So it's niche specific. Operations heroes for operations in general, maybe, and some facilities and events, whereas you guys are built for the industry. Again, another strong talking point. And then robust analytics for strategic decision making. We give you district-wide analytics that extend beyond basic reporting. This is also really, really helpful. Like assuming you're targeting a superintendent or something like that, maybe this is the right kind of thing to lead with in a cold email and to say, look, we're built for the education industry, but we also, what that means from a data perspective is this: we can do this. Other companies can't do it. So it's not just, hey, we're dedicated to your niche. But hey, we're dedicated to your niche, and that means we can go a level further with everything else that we do with our reporting with you. So hopefully that's a good starting point for you here. Let me pause here. I'm going to wrap up, but any more questions from anybody? I want to see in chat. Hopefully this was helpful. I want to see if you can come up with, yeah, Emma, this is exactly the kind of thing for a full website overhaul. Go through if you want, message me on LinkedIn. I'll send you the recording of the buyer persona class, because that was a good one for a website overhaul as well. But these are the ways that you can, let me come back to this over here. You can start to see what you're building and then where it makes sense to take the output from one, put it into another, combine the prompts, build a bunch of these. But I would start to try to connect the dots between them and then really create a weekly system for yourself, create a monthly system for yourself. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How's it working? What connects to what? But the more you can make this repeatable, the more powerful that you can be. And frankly, I think that we're going in a direction in this world where huge departments of 20, 50 people are going to be replaced by smaller departments of a handful of people who really know how to use these tools. I don't necessarily purport that that's a good thing or a bad thing. There's obviously two sides to that, but that's where the industry is going. So if you want to learn how to do this, get on board. I really think it's important for everybody in our space here, whether you're sales, marketing, or a leader. Okay, with that said, I hope that this is helpful. And yeah, this is great. Oh, Carlos, before I go, let me add in that last prompt. So what I'll do here, guys, if you want, because I added a lot of prompts and there's a lot of sort of customization I did across the board, I'll pop this one into here, Carlos, but I think it's a little bit lost without the context. So what I'll do with you here is I'll compile these into an email. We usually don't do email follow-up after the classes, but if you'd like, I can put together an email for everybody here. So just give me a yes, you want the email, and I'll include links to all these chats in addition to the links to the prompts and all that stuff. So if you want that, just hit me with a yes or a thumbs up or something positive in the chat. And then I'll put that together by tomorrow morning at the latest. So I might have the link. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll get all that done. Absolutely. Cool. That's 4 people, 5 people. Cool. That's enough. We'll get that out to you. And then if anybody gets upset at me emailing, it's your fault. Okay. So I hope this is helpful, folks. Please, again, fill out that survey. It means a lot because we really want to know where people are going and what you want us to cover. Both Kyle and I are sort of knee deep in the AI world now in both sales and marketing, and we're both very passionate about it. I know there's a lot of noise and a lot of distractions out there, but there's some companies doing incredible things. And I think you all could do really, really good stuff at your respective companies with just a little bit of more creative prompting, a little bit of AI agent building, and some automations here and there. And again, if you want to talk to me, you have that Calendly link in chat. Please book a time. Feel free. And then if you have any questions, connect with me on LinkedIn and I will answer them there. So with that said, thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate everybody's time here. You did not have to join me in the middle of your Thursday, but you did. I appreciate it. And I will speak to you all soon. Next week, you'll welcome back Kyle's beaming face as he talks to you about more of the sales stuff. Take care, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.